And, he used to say, and that's why, I have a book, of course, which is called What's Good About Today, A Purpose-Driven Life. Because when Christian was diagnosed with terminal cancer, I went with him to the doctor when this diagnosis was given to him, and he had amazing strength. And I remember buckling up my knees when this news was given to us. And I knew that his life, particularly, had changed forever. And of course, everyone around him had changed.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our ongoing goal is to inspire our listeners to live their best audacious lives ever. It's always a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us on this journey towards empowerment and fulfillment. You know, in every life, there comes a moment when we must choose how we respond to challenges. Christopher Cochran shares his son's powerful message of what's good about today, which led to a purpose-driven life filled with gratitude, resilience, and self-compassion. Just like how a flower blooms amidst adversity, we too can find strength and beauty in difficult times. Throughout the interview, we explore the importance of perspective, humility, and the choice to find positivity even in the darkest moments. Our guest, Christopher Cochran, he brings a profound relevance to this episode through his transformative journey of loss, through the loss of his son, love, and resilience. It's a powerful interview that I'm certain you'll all enjoy. So any further ado, here's my chat with Christian. Enjoy. Hey, Chris, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate your time for being here. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Audley. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I was looking forward to this opportunity to speak with you, and I love your show, and I do listen to it, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, it's the opportunity to engage in dialogues or conversations that can, help individuals get to a better place. In the case of this podcast, at best audacious place. And so we're really happy to engage in these dialogues that can do so. So it's really, so sometimes we often remind listeners that, we all are on a path, if you will, right? And that path is very individualized. We have our own set of challenges and circumstances and situations that come up. And it's really incumbent on us that we go through these things and we overcome the adversities and get through the obstacles, because I truly believe that on the other side of those challenges is where our greatness lies. And so if we want to get the greatness, we got to go through this tough stuff. And you certainly have a perspective on this, given your life and your work and the things that you're encouraging individuals to also do. So maybe as a starting point, I'd open up the floor and invite you to share with our listeners a little about you, the work you do, and what's brought you to the point that you're at now.
Sure. Thanks, Audley. Appreciate the opportunity again to share my story. My story is like a lot of folks, I grew up in a small town in central Pennsylvania, met my future wife. We started dating when I was 15 years old at a party just by happenstance. And we stayed together all those time and have now, we've known each other for 40 years. I was 15, 16 years old when we met.
Wow.
So, our dream, our whole life was to start a family. And we got married, had 3 beautiful children. And I think on a personal side, that life changed August 26th of 2020 when my son, who just graduated college at the age of 22, was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And, he used to say, and that's why, I have a book, of course, which is called What's Good About Today, A Purpose-Driven Life. Because when Christian was diagnosed with terminal cancer, I went with him to the doctor when this diagnosis was given to him, and he had amazing strength. And I remember buckling up my knees when this news was given to us. And I knew that his life, particularly, had changed forever. And of course, everyone around him had changed. But when he was given this news, he told me that everything was going to be okay. And I can tell you, from the moment that he received his diagnosis to the moment he took his last breath, September 1st, of 2021, which is about a year from the time he got that diagnosis, he never complained one time. He never said, "Why me? Woe is me. Why did this happen to me?" The opposite, actually. What he did is he reminded us, and he would say this to us. He would say, "What's good about today?" And when we were crying, we were upset. And it was his way every day to remind us of the beauty, the wonder that exists every single day. And ultimately, every day we all have a choice to either
Yep.
be overwhelmed by darkness in our lives or to seek out the light. And so my job is really to be out there and share his experience, what he taught us. And I look at the book as really as a handbook to leading a purposely driven life. And I'm still trying to lead that purposely driven life. And from a professional side, I am the CEO of an IT company. I sit on the board of a biotech company, public biotech company for cancer research. And I also sit on the board for the Christian Cochran Legacy Fund, which is really where my passions all lie, is trying to help those and other people who are needing help.
So first off, congratulations on the journey thus far, Christopher.
Yeah.
I think it's fabulous that you take a challenge of adversity. And again, as a parent, I understand. Something happens to your child, and so you take that challenge and turn that into something that can be a benefit to others. So congratulations on doing that. So you can kind of give a picture of what the journey has been for Christian in terms of where things are. So from the time I guess you got the cancer diagnosis, what that journey was.
Yeah, so I mean, again, it hit us. We had just come back from Christmas. We spent Christmas out in the Grand Canyon as a family. We're a very tight-knit family. I have two other children, both just younger than Christian. Christian's our firstborn. And we had come back and Christian experienced some back pain. And we certainly seeked out medical advice. But, this is a healthy young kid. He's just finishing up his college last year in college. He's an honors kid. He's just a spectacular boy. And we followed all the processes, but they really didn't find anything until the pain got so severe some months later, where he started to lose weight. And then we recognized, got blood tests. Well, I'm not going to go through the process of that, which the CT scans,
Mhm.
and ultimately they found a grapefruit-sized tumor on his liver. And he was stage 4 at that point. This is something called cholangiocarcinoma.
Okay.
And I didn't, when they said that to me, didn't even know how to spell it, didn't know what this was.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
ultimately, what it is in the basic terms is bioduct cancer, which is something, a bioduct is something that's connected to the liver, filters out all the things. But ultimately, it's a deadly disease. It has a less than 2% chance of survival rate, even past 5 years. Mortality rates in young people, which, by the way, rarely happens. This is an old person's disease, and this is something you see in Southeast Asia. So
Gotcha.
Christian was struck with something that was completely just not in very common. And ultimately, the journey was tough. I document that in the book, of course, how Christian fought through. He continued to be positive even in these difficult days. And so you go through chemotherapy. We went through all kinds of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 drugs. Anything that we could do, we seeked out the
Yes.
best doctors around the world to keep Christian with us as long as we could. But look, at the end of the day, Christian knew his destiny.
Mm.
Christian knew that he was given a terminal diagnosis. As a matter of fact, when he was told that, I remember Christian just saying, "How much time do I have left?" He was matter of fact about it. He actually made jokes with the doctors to make them feel comfortable. He just had that way of just taking life, and he saw it very differently than you and I. He had a
Yeah.
very different
Yeah.
perspective of life. And so the journey was filled with, of course, lots of ups and downs, right?
Sure.
Despair, trials that we failed and couldn't get, or pain and absolute suffering. He passed away with us in our home. I mean, there's a lot there, and I document a lot of that. But at
Yep.
the end of the
Yep.
day, Christian was about light. He was about positivity, and that's what I try to make sure that people understand.
Love
Even
it.
in the midst of the worst of things, you can still find joy and beauty in this life that is so short for all of us, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's a beautiful way of that legacy of that positivity and that upliftment and encouragement that he left, and obviously that resonated on you. And I'm so happy to hear that you've told that through your story. What's good about today? I know that's the title of your book, but I want to give you the back, so the story behind what that means or how that came to be.
Yeah. Well, as I said, Christian, when he was home during that course of the year. He was with us. Remember, this is during COVID.
Yep.
So everybody's at home. He's with us, spending that year living his life. He never stopped living. That's the thing. Got a job for 4 months. He wanted to show purpose and show us that he was going to continue. He developed music. He was a podcaster. Has a podcast that's out there. He's been on multiple podcasts, started his own podcast with his sister. But ultimately, what it was how he would remind us. He would say it to us. He'd say, what's good about today? When we were crying, when we were down, when we were at our lowest points, when we just felt like there was nothing left. And so it was his way of saying, based on today, right? It's not always having to think about so far in the future, even tomorrow. It's really thinking about what is it today where you can make a difference. And look at the absolute beauty that is given to us every day. And by the way, this is not something that one can do at the end of the day per se, right? You can look back on your day and you can say, boy, what a crummy day, but here are
Yeah.
some of the things that were good. But you can start this every morning.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key, is to say, look, I'm up, I'm moving, I'm doing something. I've engaged with my friends, my family. The sun is shining. I can
Yes.
walk. I can do the
Yes.
different things. So you have to it's all about moments, right? Positivity is in the moments, and
Yeah.
it is the power of perspective,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, I know that this world is hurting. This world has so many other ills. And, I feel very blessed. Here I am, a guy, I'm a father. I love my son. He's my best friend. He's the world to our family. We're
Yes.
grieving still. This only happened 3 years ago, but you can still find pockets of joy even in your day, and look to the positivity that's out there. And so, but I always looked at other people's perspective, right? I know it's a horrible saying. People say misery loves company, but people are hurting everywhere. I feel
Yeah.
very blessed that I have my son. I feel very privileged that I got to spend the time with him that I did, the closeness that I had. So I think, that's important, to have a power of perspective
Yep.
when you're going through difficult moments, right? And ultimately you also have choice, right? Resiliency
Mhm.
and choice. I say it all the time.
Yep.
And ultimately, I think you can make a choice in whether you want to seek out good or you want to seek out falling into despair. And I certainly was
Love it.
there
I love it.
early on.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. Particularly other piece around choice, yeah, because things will absolutely happen to us, and in the moment. And actually, I'll take it even a step back. Things will happen to individuals, and two different people might see entirely two different ways, and
Mm-hmm.
that happens because there's choices that are being made. Um, the choice is a big thing. I want to actually ask about living a purpose driven life. If Chris, if you could just give me your definition of when you reference that, and you said what is it, what is your, and again, it's one of these terms that we've heard, and I don't think people will not be familiar with it, but I'm just curious what your definition of that is.
It's easy. Love.
Mm,
It's a simple term, right? We overuse love many times. I love you. I love you. I say I love you all the time. I say I love you. Uh, but at the end, it's love. And how much love do we give out? You said something actually really important, as part of leading a purposely driven life, resilience, it isn't a trait. Okay. It's not a trait. It's a
thank you for
decision.
saying thank you for
It,
saying that. Thank you
yeah,
for saying that.
and it's a resilience doesn't always mean fighting to overcome. Sometimes resilience means acceptance, right? Accepting what we cannot change, but still showing up with courage,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Because our lives are faced with challenges, disappointments, heartbreaks. But what defines us is our ability to stand back up, to keep moving forward, even when the path is unclear. So we must learn to fight, find strength and even in the very act of continuing, or the face each day with a sense of purpose. So to me, the sense of finding purpose has always been about love. How do I put love back out in the day? And
Hmm.
Christian always had something, I refer to it a lot. A lot of people in this world have to-do lists, right? They have checklists like, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do today? Christian had to love list. And so I tried to incorporate that into my life,
Yeah.
into my love list. I wake up, I figure out, how can I love more today?
Mm,
right? It's not, I got to go to the bank. I got to go. Well, if I'm going to the bank, how do I love to go to the bank? Because I'm going to meet somebody and I want to connect with that person. And how do I impact that person? That's going to impact me ultimately, right? I mean, there's a bit of selfishness to this, right? I mean, I do these things because it gives me so much. My heart's been ripped out of my chest a million times,
right.
and I'm always trying to plug in love where I can fill it in, and that's meeting people, connecting the dots. And so I think leading a purpose-driven life is connecting and finding love.
Another very, very important theme that you've spoken to and comes out is gratitude.
Mhm.
Finding meaning in the moments, and I even see a difference in my own personal life when I am very conscious about being expressing gratitude to the things that happen to me, and I every so often I'll do like I do the gratitude list. I need to be consistent with it all the time, but I definitely, when I make that moment, I sit down, it's fantastic. And I'll do things like, you know, the woman at the coffee shop smiled at me today. It was fantastic. I felt good. And
Excellent.
and
Yeah.
it's even taken so far to talk about that thing that happened to me, how it made me feel. Because when you capture that, so when you attribute this thing, this emotion to that thing, and our minds make that connection. So every time that thing happens, you feel that way again. And so it made me feel good when so and so did this. And so now you're seeking out those things again to feel that hey feeling, right? And so I wonder if you could speak to just how important gratitude in our lives and how it sort of um, I guess create opportunities. I think create opportunities to be able to see the good in the world.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny when you mention the word gratitude. It certainly was when I was putting the book together and how you title these things. I knew it was always going to be what's good about today, right? But
Yeah,
just
that
in
was
the
a given.
process, right? But what is it? What am I? And again, getting into process, which is what's the subtitle that defines this whole thing? And I certainly considered the word gratitude as it points into showing this, which is gratitude's used a lot in this world too, right? I mean, we hear
Yes.
that a lot. And gratitude's only as good, it's just a word. It's only as good as what you put into practice, right? At the end of the day, you defined a couple things, right? But you have to be very aware and very present. Being present is where you find gratitude. And so, really, a life of gratitude is cultivated with practical steps. And so you can do those through, of course, you've heard this, people do gratitude journals.
Yes.
You engage in random acts of kindness, which you've done, whether it's with strangers or loved ones, bring joy to and
Yeah.
fulfillment. But I also think self-care and
Yeah.
I've always talked about writing self-compassion letters are important practice, which is to something to show self-care for yourself
Yep.
is a way of showing gratitude. And really just, training your thoughts, shift your attention from, to the positive. And that can change a lot and being mindful and positive and meditation, So it's there are a lot of ways to find gratitude that are out there. There's lots of books on gratitude.
Yep. Yep.
But ultimately it's it's you got to put it in practice at the end of the day. It's just putting things in practice and be
Mhm.
mindful and present.
Got you. Got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something else I think is important when we talk about putting it in practice is maintaining a level of positivity. And it's really super easy to say, hey, be positive, be happy, be. It's very different when you're going through something challenging, as you would have gone through with, with your son. I wonder if you sort of talk about the I guess the feat for some people of being positive during difficult and extremely challenging times.
Well, that's the best question you've asked here. So, I mean, great questions. That's a great one because the truth is there's no real everybody acts like they have the purest of solutions for these things.
Right.
Life is very difficult. I've always referred back to a quote by Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee used to say, "Don't pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one." And
Mm,
there's I used to say that to myself over and over. And I'll tell you, for the first year and a half of Christian, after Christian passed away, I was numb. I was
sure.
not in a right space, right? I'm not a drinker, but I started drinking.
Mm.
I was on medication just to control my anxiety levels. I wanted to sleep, and it's difficult. But
Yeah.
I think you have to put one foot in front and realize that we're here for purpose.
Yes.
There's a reason for everything. And two things that are very important to me that help me help others. When people go, how could you come out of the depths of this? How do I find positivity, to your point, was how do people do it? Two things that I fall back on all the time. One is that I have to be humble before God. Now I'm a religious guy, and you don't have to
Hmm.
be, spiritual, it's fine. But
Yep.
being humble in life is key. So I'm humble before God, not deserving of love. I am always trying to show my humbleness to the things that I do. Number two is you're not in control. And when you stop thinking you're in control of what happens in your life, I
Yeah.
listened to a podcast you had on just your last one, which is he made a really good point. And I'm sorry I can't remember his name, Lloyd. And
Lloyd Hawkins. Yes.
yeah, yeah. And Lloyd made a point. I think it's a great point, which is life is going to hit you with something. You're going to have
Yeah.
to, fire. Yeah, I think he talked about you're going to have to pull someone out of a burning
Yes.
car.
Yes. That's right.
And so it resonates because the truth is you may have a perfect life or you think you've got this perfect life. And I did. I assure you, plenty of money, the perfect house, perfect neighborhood,
Yes. Yeah.
beautiful family, perfection at its T. I was living every dream, married to my high school sweetheart, but
Mm-hmm.
it stopped on a dime. It stopped on a dime. It changed everything
Yep.
on my mind. Think I don't even know that guy pre-cancer. So I tell everyone, like, you may think it's you're in control, but you're not. So I try to remind everyone when you're going through something difficult, you need to take a step back and realize you're not in control. And once you lose that element, you can actually start to look a little bit clearer at the world,
Yeah.
right? And not take it. Christian used to say this, and I have it in the book: is don't take life so seriously. I know that's easy to say
Yep.
because life is hit with us with so many things, but I think you have to realize you're not in control, and that is a big cumbersome thing because if you're like, I got to control this, I got to control this, I control how I feel, how I
Yeah.
listen. You just need be the best version of yourself every single day.
Yeah, no, I love it. I absolutely do. And uh, it's so funny when you recognize that whole control thing isn't like, you're not the puppet master, you're the puppet. Like once you get to that,
100%. Yeah.
that perspective, it helps. So when you talk to her about the importance of perspective, without
Hmm.
question, there is a major change or major impact. Um,
Absolutely.
and then also, when you sort of talked about how, good life was and you thought you were in control and you thought things were good. I think that really, I take that back to the very beginning where I talked about us being on our own path and how it's very,
Hmm.
very different. And so, the path that we're on, that you're on is very different mine and Sally's and Jim's and John's and so on and so forth.
Sure.
And the
Sure.
challenges that like, it's funny. We're all going to run into different types of challenges, but our approach
Hmm.
to them is going to be the same. Like it's either we hit it head on or we regress and go, oh my gosh. And that's where that choice things come into place. And so
Sure.
definitely hear that.
Sure.
Um,
Absolutely.
it kind of sounds like it's you sort of even change and develop personally.
That's an understatement. Yeah. Uh, of course, I don't think anyone who goes through the loss of a child, you can't, there's nothing to compare it to. It's the worst. And, look, there's a lot of worse things in this world. There's a lot of bad things in this world. I don't really think I think losing a child is the worst possible imaginable thing, whether it's a loss of child to cancer, which is in my case, which I watched my son slowly die, this beautiful, gorgeous boy slowly die, or if it's someone who loses a child to gun violence, suicide, drugs.
Yep.
Those are horrible things, right? They're painful. Murder. There are all these things, but at the end of the day, you're losing a child, and
Yes.
it's painful beyond measure. You can't even measure it because I've lost my parents. People have lost parents. Now,
Yep.
look, grief and pain and suffering, they affect everybody a little differently, right? We're all different souls. We all have different paths that God has put us on. But ultimately, I think you're right. It's at some point you want to put one foot in front of the other. You have to say, I'm not giving up.
Yes.
I can't give up because they wouldn't want me to give up. I
That's
remind
right.
myself, Christian would never ever.
Yes.
He'd be so
Yes.
disappointed in me. And ultimately that's actually the measure of the quality of what the purpose of life is. I know I'm not going to give up. I can't give up. This story
Yes.
is too
Yep.
great. I think
Yep.
Christians, like I believe in Christians' message.
Hmm.
I think that it's a simple message. What's good about today? If people said I see it spreading very fast. Even
Yes.
right now, it's in school districts. It's spreading. I'm speaking
Yeah.
at university levels.
Wow.
So my hope is that this is just a global thing. That every day you're waking up, the natural thing is you're just saying, "What's good about today?"
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
good about today? And you're looking at your day a very different way. And so I always look at Christian as the patron saint of good days. So he's reminding me that I've got to find the beauty in every single moment.
Well, I love the fact that you've done that and you continue to do that. And then I love the way that you're inspiring others to do the
Thank you.
same, Christopher. This is just so awesome. Thank you for sharing. This is I knew coming into this, when I read sort of the backstory, I got really excited. And as we go through this conversation, like, yeah, that excitement was completely justified. And a piece that excites me is, and I've always been a big fan of taking our challenges, our
Mm,
hardships, our
mhm.
difficulties, and making them into something special and magical that positively impacts other people. You'll get my attention every single time with that, and you've
Yeah.
definitely done so.
Well
But
said. Yeah.
yeah,
Agreed.
for our listeners that wanted to learn more about you, or connect with you, or where can we send them?
Well, you can go to two places. First and foremost, I love you to learn about my son. So christiancochran.org. Even if you Google Christian Cochran, you'll find all kinds of information on
Yep.
the impact the legacy is doing, the foundation is doing, which is the most important part, which is helping those who are less fortunate. We work with inner city kids.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
do all kinds of scholarship opportunities, after school programs. So that's a great place to start. The second place is, of course, myself. Connect with me, whether it's on LinkedIn, but I have chriscochranspeaks.com. You can Google Chris Cochran, probably somewhere in there. You'll probably find me, but you can find more information about what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to get the message out, and tell the story. And those are the two best places to find information on myself. But most importantly, find out information about Christian, how he impacted other human beings. Because I think if you look at that, you'll see how you can make changes in your own life when you're having moments where you're falling down. It will inspire you. It will make you feel joyful. It'll show you that you can find light over darkness.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's very, very well said. Chris, thank you for doing this. This is a complete blast. I appreciate you for sharing and all the insights and the perspectives. And thank you for being here on the Audacious Living podcast. It's been great.
Thank you so much, Audley. Appreciate it very much.
Back we are here on the podcast, and I so appreciate Christian for being here. And one of the key takeaways from our conversation is that by being present, practicing gratitude, and embracing humility, we can navigate life's challenges with grace and fortitude. Christopher's story serves as a reminder that the power to overcome lies within our hands, and every day is an opportunity to choose light over darkness. If you'd like to connect with Christopher directly and learn more about his inspirational work or the work of his sons, the foundation, all that good stuff, visit the show notes below for all the details. Certainly reach out to him, get his thoughts, insights, and continue the conversation on leading a purpose-driven life. For those, the book is a powerful one, and his story is also just really impactful. As we wrap up this episode of the Audacious Living podcast, I encourage you to like, follow, subscribe, and share if you haven't already done so, because that's how we grow our platform and reach out to even more individuals to help them live their best audacious lives. Remember, every day is a chance to find beauty in life, and it's a matter of you going out and getting it. Thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.